Hello students, welcome to your English literature class. In your last video, you had done how Portia speaks in favor of Shylock and says to Antonio to uncover his bosom. Antonio says to Bassanio to tell his wife that how his friend had given his life out of love for Bassanio. Now students, in this video, I'll be covering your lines number 290 till 343. So the objectives of this video are you will be able to comprehend the text, know the gist of the lines 290 till 343 and know reference related to the text if any. So students, please open your book at page number 138. Line number 290. Bassanio. Antonio, I am married to a wife which is as dear to me as life itself. So students, in these lines Bassanio says to Antonio that he is married to a wife who is as dear to him as his own life. But life itself, my wife, and all the world are not with me esteemed above thy life. Please underline esteemed and write down valued. Thy, your. So moving further, he further says that his life, his wife, and the whole world are not considered by him to be of greater value than Antonio's life. I would lose all, sacrifice them all, here to this devil to deliver you. Please underline deliver and write down save. He says that he would lose them all, sacrifice every one of them to the devil Shylock in order to save him. So students, let us do the gist of these lines. Bassanio tells Antonio that he is married to a woman as dear to him as life itself. But life itself, his wife, and the whole world aren't more valuable to him than his, that is, Antonio's life is. He would sacrifice them all to save him from the devil, Shylock. So moving on to Portia's dialogue. Your wife would give you little thanks for that, if she were by to hear you make the offer. Please underline by and write down here. Now students, Portia is not at all happy on listening to her husband's comment and says to Bassanio that his wife would thank him later for that offer if she were present to hear him making such an offer. Gratiano, I have a wife whom I protest I love. I would she were in heaven, so she could entreat some power to change this currish Jew. Students, please underline protest and write down swear. Currish, bad-tempered or quarrelsome. So in these lines, Gratiano says that he has a wife whom he swears he loves, but he wishes that she were dead and in heaven, so that she could plead with some heavenly power to change the cruel Jew. Nerissa, 'tis will you offer it behind her back. The wish would make else an unquiet house. 'Tis means it is. Unquiet house, create a conflict in your house. In these lines, Nerissa says to Gratiano that it is good that he makes this offer when his wife is not present. Otherwise, his wish would disrupt the peace in his household. This shows Nerissa's unpleasantness on listening to Gratiano's dialogue. So students, let us do the gist of these lines. After listening to Bassanio's talk, Portia sarcastically remarks that Bassanio's wife would thank him for that offer if she were present to hear him. Gratiano tells that he wishes his wife to be dead and in heaven in order that she could persuade some heavenly power to change the wild Jew, to which Narissa says that it is good that he is making the comment in his wife's absence. Otherwise, it might lead to conflict in his household. Shylock. These be the Christian husbands? I have a daughter. Would any of the stock of Barabbas had been her husband rather than a Christian? Aside, we trifle time. I pray thee, pursue sentence. So please underline stock and write down a race. Trifle, waste. The, you. Pursue, get on with. So, Shylock speaks. He wonders on the behavior of Christian husbands and says that he wishes that his daughter had married to one in the family of Barabbas than to a Christian. Students, Barabbas was a notorious criminal. But then also after listening to how Christian husbands wish their wives to be dead, Shylock wishes that his daughter had married to one in the family of Barabbas. And then moving further, Shylock prays or requests to the court not to waste time and pursue the case. Portia, a pound of that same merchant's flesh is thine. The court awards it and the law doth give it. Please underline thine and write down yours. So Portia says that a pound of that same merchant. Who is that same merchant? Antonio. So a pound of Antonio's flesh is his and the court awards it to him and the law sanction it. So talking about the gist, Shylock, after noticing how Christian husbands regard their wives, wishes his daughter to marry one of the family of Barabbas, the murderer, rather than a Christian. He requested the court not to waste time and continue with the sentence. Portia informs Shylock that his suit is legal and so the law justifies the award. Shylock. Most rightful judge. So Shylock is happy to hear Portia's words and says that Portia is the most just judge. So Portia, and you must cut this flesh from off his breast. The law allows it and the court awards it. So Portia warns Shylock that he has to cut the flesh from his chest. She repeats again that the law allows it and the court awards it. Shylock, most learned judge, a sentence, come, prepare. So students, Shylock is very happy and he thinks that Portia is speaking in his favor. So he says it is a good sentence and says to Antonio to prepare himself. Students, the gist of the lines, Portia further informs that Shylock has to cut the flesh from Antonio's breast, which is sanctioned by the court, and Shylock gets very happy after listening to the sentence and appreciates Portia's judgment. Portia. Tarry a little, there is something else. This bond doth give thee here no jot of blood. Please underline tarry and write down wait. Underline thee and write down you. Jot, the smallest particle of blood. So Portia says to wait a little as there is something else. The bond does not permit him to shed the smallest drop of blood. The words expressly are a pound of flesh. So Portia repeats the words from the bond. So the words definitely state a pound of flesh. Take then thy bond, take thou thy pound of flesh, but in the cutting it, if thou dost shed one drop of Christian blood, Thy lands and goods are, by the laws of Venice, confiscate onto the state of Venice. So students, thy, your, thou, you, thy, yours pound of flesh. Confiscate, forfeit, which means it will be given to the state of Venice. So, what Portia is speaking here? So, Portia further says that he can take the penalty as per his bond, which is a pound of flesh. While cutting it, if he sheds one drop of Christian blood, then by the laws of Venice, all his lands and property will be confiscated by the state of Venice. So just Portia warns Shylock, saying that the bond does not permit him to take the smallest atom of blood, and in cutting the flesh, if he sheds one drop of blood, then by the laws of Venice, all his lands and property will be forfeited to the state. Gratiano. Oh, upright judge, mark Jew. Oh, learned judge. Please underline upright and write down judge. And please underline mark and write down pay attention. So Gratiano says that, oh, upright judge, listen to that Jew. Oh, learned judge. Students, earlier Shylock was the one who was saying Portia as a learned judge. But now Gratiano is the one who, in order to mock at Shylock, says Shylock to pay attention and says that Portia is actually a learned judge. Shylock. Is that the law? So Shylock angrily says that, is that the law? Is this the justice? Portia. Thyself shalt see the act. For as thou urgest justice, be assured thou shalt have justice more than thou desirest. Please underline urgest and write down demand. So Portia says that he will see the act. He has demanded strict justice. He will receive justice more than he desires. So students, let us do the gist of these lines. Shylock is unhappy from Portia's remark, and she says to Shylock that it is he only who has demanded strict justice, and so he'll get the same even more than he desires. Gratiano seems to be very happy and teases Shylock. So what Gratiano says in order to tease Shylock? Oh, learned judge, mark you a learned judge. So Gratiano is really happy, and that is why he wants Jew to pay attention. Jew here is Shylock. So Shylock. I take this offer then. Pay the bond thrice and let the Christian go. Students, now Shylock actually understands the situation and says, then he accepts the earlier offer, pay 3 times the amount of the debt and let the Christian be free. Bassanio. Here is the money. Bassanio willingly says, here is the money. So just Shylock accepts the previous offer, that is 3 times the amount of debt, and Bassanio too agrees to pay the same. Portia. Soft, the Jew shall have all justice. Soft, no haste. He shall have nothing but the penalty. Please underline soft and write down stop. Haste, hurry. So Portia stops him and says, the Jew will have full justice. Stop, do not be in such a hurry. He will have nothing but the penalty. Gratiano. O Jew, an upright judge, a learned judge. So students, talking about the gist, Portia stops Bassanio and says that the Jew must have full justice and asserts that he can have a pound of flesh and no money. To which Gratiano happily says that how upright and learned judge he is. He here refers to Portia. So moving further, Portia's dialogue. Therefore prepare thee to cut off the flesh. Shed thou no blood, nor cut thou less nor more, but just a pound of flesh. So Portia says Shylock to get ready to cut off the flesh and shed no blood, and be careful to cut neither more nor less than an exact pound. If thou cuts more or less than a just pound, be it but so much as makes it light or heavy in the substance, or the division of the 20th part of one poor scruple. Scruple, a small unit of weight. Nay, if the scale do turn but in the estimation of a hair, thou diest, and all thy goods are confiscate. So students, please underline thou and write down you. Diest, death. Die, your. So Portia says if he takes more or less than a pound, whatever it is, light or heavy in weight, more or less 1/20th in excess or less than a scruple, a small unit of weight, or if the scales differ by a hair's breadth from exact weight, he will have death penalty and all his possessions will be confiscated. So students, just as Portia again warns Shylock and says that he should not cut any part which is more or less than even 20th part of scruple, and should not differ by a hair's breadth from exact weight, otherwise he will suffer death and his property will be confiscated. So students, I hope you have understood these lines. We'll be doing till here today, and for your homework, please plan lines 344 till 389. Thank you.